right, hey everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Episode 26 coming at you right after the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight.
We stayed up way too late last night watching that.
Really disappointed in how things turned out.
Yeah. Well, apparently, so we kind of got... So Carlos had to go to an HOA meeting. Yeah, Carlos is a part of our HOA board now. Anyway. So he had to go to HOA meeting. So he didn't get back until around, 7:30 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah, but
so
the fight
we
didn't
started,
even start yet.
Well, so we started the live stream way late. So we went all the way back to the beginning and ended up just we went through the first fight and it was just taking way too long. So we fast forwarded it. And then we skipped the women's fight because the last time that I watched a women's fight, it was terrible. The worst fight I've ever seen. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just skip this and let's just go straight to let's just go live. So we ended up skipping the women's fight, watching the live stream. So we got to see the fight actually live, which was cool. But I woke up this morning and everybody is saying that the women's fight was the best fight they've ever seen.
Doubt it.
So I'm like, wow, now I want to go back and watch the women fight. The fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was just sad.
So here's my thoughts. I thought that Jake was smarter than he was. I thought he was going to let Mike Tyson win. Turns out that didn't happen. Jake just decided to beat up on an old man, and that was actually what happened. That's so sad.
Yeah.
I think the only way that Jake Paul would have won is if he would have let Mike Tyson knock him out in the first couple rounds. Everybody would have been happy. He would have still got paid. Mike would have still got paid.
Still got paid his $40 million.
Yeah. But he decided to still beat up on this old man. I do think he was holding back. I think he even admitted to holding back. I think in round 3 or 4, wasn't I saying that? I was like,
you can tell he felt bad.
When Mike started to tumble, or when he started to you could tell he was losing his balance a little bit. He was doing the old man walk.
Yeah.
When an old man is just trying to take steps, but it's his balance is off. You can just tell. That happened to Mike, and I was like, oh no, he looks old. Also, how many people expected Mike Tyson to win? I don't think many people expected him to win. I think many people were hoping that he would win.
Yes. I think everyone talked a big game for Mike Tyson, and they were saying, oh, he's going to get his butt whooped and yada, yada, yada. But I think in the back of everybody's minds, they were thinking the same thing I thought, which was, Jake is going to win because he's younger, he's bigger, and he's got way more stamina.
Mostly he's just younger.
Everyone wanted to say, oh, Mike has years of experience and he's got the skill level and
which maybe, but
and
first 2 rounds he showed that. First 2 rounds he showed.
Here's what I think Mike should stop fighting, and I think maybe he should coach. He'd be an excellent coach.
Imagine if he coached Jake. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I think Jake should fight his brother. Anyway, but
okay.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
Because when Logan,
I know what you're talking about.
When Mike Tyson said that he's not done fighting and that he wants to fight Jake's brother, Logan Paul's reaction should not have been, quote for quote, I'll kill your ass, Mike. He says something like that. No, you should not have said that, Logan. That made you look so stupid because you're so small compared to your brother and compared to Mike Tyson.
Logan Paul's bigger than Jake. Yeah.
He's scrawny.
No, he's bigger than Jake.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think he's taller and
he's way skinnier than Jake.
He's got a lower body fat percentage. If that's just Logan is jacked, dude.
Well, I haven't seen him without his clothes on, so maybe I just don't know. But
Liar. I have.
Okay. In that live
stream. Saw Mike without his clothes on.
But listen, in that live stream.
Saw Mike without his clothes on.
Stop.
Sorry.
In that live stream, Logan, that made, that reaction was just, so childish.
Yeah, I was not good.
You should have been hey, I'm not a fighter, or something like that. You should have been he does fight?
Yes. You
Maybe
know nothing about Logan Paul.
I know nothing about Logan Paul except for that he's going to be a dad or something.
I think he already is. I think he's already had a kid.
I'm way behind on Logan Paul. Anyway, like my reaction,
Yeah.
I would have been like, dang,
Someone needs to punch
no
him.
way, like Mike, you'll beat my ass. Like that would have been my reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no
But-
way that when he said that, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that must have been like scripted.
Cringe.
It felt like a WWE moment, which Logan fought in the WWE. That was like he went
Really?
through a whole phase. I don't know if he's still doing that. Yeah.
Let me look this up because I
Look
feel
up
like
a
this
picture
is
of
not.
Logan Paul in WWE. He's jacked. He's fit. He's athletic. I think people who say that they're not athletic or whatever, like that's not true. They're athletic. People expected Jake to win. I think Jake apparently didn't expect himself to win. But the only way that I would have acknowledged Jake's win is if he knocked out Mike Tyson, and he didn't even do that. He couldn't even knock out a 58-year-old man.
WWE's wrestling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's 100% real.
Okay, he's not. It's 100% real.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they like hit each other with chairs?
Yeah. 100% real.
He would fight. That's what I'm saying. He can't fight.
See what I mean, though? Look at him.
Yeah, but no. Look,
He's athletic, and
Jake
he's
is way bigger.
no.
Jake is way
Jake
bigger.
was fatter, and like they had some body fat on them. I think Jake is smaller than Logan. Anyway,
I don't know.
I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. Anyway, Logan
I
should
didn't
not
know
have
Logan
said what he
fought.
said.
Anyway,
I think Mike Tyson should stop. Like at this point, unless he dies in the ring, that might be kind of cool. but-
no. I also think that Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Here's the thing about these two is since the beginning of their social media careers, they've been just cringe, right? And everyone crapped on them from the beginning because they were cringy and they were immature and they were childish. And it's like you have a chance to redeem yourself as a 27-year-old. You have a chance to redeem yourself and show people that you're not childish and you're not cringe.
Which he tried to at the
And
end.
neither of them did that.
He tried to at the end.
He
He
tried
bowing.
to save himself at the end because for the last, what is it? Has it been 2 years almost?
I think it's like a
since-
year. I think it's been like a year.
It's been
It's felt long.
longer than
It's
that
felt
because they
like
were
a long
supposed
time.
to have a fight and it got canceled
I don't know.
and then rescheduled. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Jake has been talking crap, just
is smart.
absolutely crapping on Mike Tyson.
That was
And it's
smart.
like Mike Tyson is the best fighter in the world. You should have shown him a little bit of you would have gained respect from everybody else
No.
and
didn't want
still
respect.
gotten paid your $40
didn't
million.
want-
Stop.
No, listen.
Stop
he
interrupting
didn't,
me.
He didn't
No,
want respect.
stop interrupting me.
Let me just. he didn't want respect. He wanted to have the most watched fight in history, and he got that
Okay, but
was
you
smart.
could have
It
done
was
that.
smart.
You could have done that still because it's Mike Tyson.
by respecting Mike. No,
But you could have been respectful and showed
no.
hey, I have respect for this guy and not talked crap the entire time and
Hear me out.
and threaten and
Sure.
knock him out and whatever. And then at the end, you're like, this man is a great fighter. I love him so much. I look up to him. And
Sure.
it's just like, you're trying to save yourself at this point because everyone booed you.
Here's what I think happened.
You won and you got booed.
He walked into the ring and got booed. Everyone was against him, and I think the reason that Netflix servers were crashing and the reason that our neighbor had to come over to our house to watch the fight was because so many people were watching to watch Jake get beat. That's the only reason people were watching. People were not watching because it's like, oh, look at this legend come back. Like some people would have watched if that was the game they were trying to play. But if Jake was super respectful the whole time, oh, this guy's a legend, I just want to get the chance to fight him. Like, no, that's not what it was. It was a punk teenager kid. Like, that's what
He's
it felt
not-
like. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it felt like some punk kid, like, calling out this master greatest of all time. That's what it felt
Mhm.
like. And that's why so many people
Yeah.
were like, oh, I just want to. The whole time we were like, oh, get him, get him. What he should have
I
done.
said at the beginning of the fight, I'm rooting for Logan. Or not Logan.
You guys still got Logan on your mind, huh?
I said from
Yeah,
the
you do.
beginning that I'm rooting for Jake because if he doesn't win and he talked all that crap, he's going to look so stupid.
I think it would have been the best for him to get put in his place. That would have been the best case scenario. I think he should have. And when there was like 10 seconds left, and when he put his hands behind his back and bowed down, dude, Mike should have.
He should have knocked him out.
Imagine, imagine
Seriously.
8th round. His hubris is what ends him. Jake putting his hands behind his back and bowing down to Mike. Mike should have been. He should have still been locked in.
I know, he had like 3 seconds.
That would have been so good. Imagine if it ended that
Oh
way.
my gosh. That
Someone
would have
should
been the
AI that.
greatest
Can someone
fight
please
of all time.
AI
Yeah.
an ending where Jake is hands behind the back, bends down, Mike Tyson comes in and boom, knocks him out.
And then bites his ear
That's,
off.
yeah. That's what I think should have happened. Because that would have been the greatest moment in history. But now
Yeah.
it was just like the buildup was amazing. And then the fight was like,
I thought I had hope in the middle of the fight. I was like, you know what? Mike is faking it and he's going to come out in the 8th round and he's going to knock Jake out.
I was hoping he was, because when in the first couple rounds, he was showing the energy.
Yeah.
And then he kind of, it looked like he was holding back, biting his gloves. I thought he was holding back, doing that. Like it seemed like he was holding back. Like, you know,
Yeah.
when you're like, that's what it seemed like. And then I thought 8th round, he was going to, I thought he was trying to out stamina Jake and just let Jake kind of beat up on him and tire himself out. But
well, the first 2 rounds,
didn't
Jake
happen.
just ran away from him, and which
hugged
was
him.
smart on his part. You know why? Because he probably ran away from him so much to tire him
he
out.
knew he would only last a couple rounds.
Yeah.
That Jake fought like a wimp, dude. Like
Yeah.
he knew that the game that Mike Tyson couldn't play was fighting for more than a few rounds. And so Jake was like, okay, I'm going to just wait him out. Like what a pansy way of fighting the greatest of all time. What a terrible way of still disrespecting him while fighting.
That guy, Barrios, he was in the pink. I feel like he would have whooped Jake.
I don't know.
He was a good fighter.
Jake has won most of his fights. So I don't know. I think people were hoping. I don't think people thought that Mike would win. I think people were hoping that Mike would win. But anyway, that fight, terrible fight, great build up. They did a great job selling the fight.
Yeah.
So that people could sign up for Netflix, and good job
Which
to
we
Netflix.
we literally had to sign up for Netflix
that day.
Because we've been using my mom's account. But
No, we're not talking about that allegedly.
Yeah.
Don't come for us, Netflix. Anyway, real quick, I wanted to start a little segment here. Segue, part 2 of this episode. Saw this BuzzFeed article, and I wanted to read it and get some of our reactions. Here's the title. It's quote, I worry about how the kids will turn out. Parents are getting brutally honest about the best and worst modern parenting styles, and they have some very hot takes. Ready for this first take? So it's about parenting hot takes. I think parents are finally not clapping back, but pushing back on gentle parenting. Quote, gentle parenting, but in its proper form, it should be, I know you are mad that we have to leave the park now, but we are still leaving in 5 minutes to go home for dinner. You can do the slide one more time. It's not just giving in to doing whatever a kid wants to do. It's valid that the kid is mad. The emotion makes sense. You give a small compromise if acceptable, but still set the boundary and stick with it. Kids need to hear no. Hot take, huh? Apparently that's a hot take.
I just thought that was parenting.
Yeah, telling a kid no. Yeah, because it seems like gentle parenting was like the kid's feelings are valid and therefore should be you should kind of bend to
cater to them.
Yeah.
We had a kid in a job that I was working. We had a kid, and I don't want to be like. Anyway, there was a kid who was just like a little doo-doo head, and he would like hit other kids. He didn't listen to us, and his mom goes, "Oh well, you're not supposed to tell him no. We don't use the word no. You have to use other words, other redirective words." And I'm like, this is why your kid is because you don't tell him no. Like, in my eyes, my kid has to know the word no and what it means.
Yeah.
And to obey it when I tell them to obey it.
I think there's a balance between saying no all the time and like just telling your kid no and the because I said so parenting.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's healthy. There's two sides. Like there's the because I said so, and then there's the because you said so.
Like if I say no to something and Phoebe questions and is like, well, why are you saying no? I don't have an issue with that.
Okay,
if she's looking for explanation, I don't have an issue with that. But it's like if I tell her no and she blatantly like disobeys me, that's when there's an issue.
This is kind of what I was saying, but this is their second point. An attitude of I'm the parent, so I'm right. I do not in any way mean to coddle your kids. I am all for setting well-defined and well-explained boundaries. Kids should never be unsure about why they are being punished, and the punishment needs to be tailored to each kid to suit their age. It's all about making sure your kid understands the rules and talking it out if they disagree with something. Respecting and listening to your kid is a good way to get respect and understanding back. So, this whole idea of like, you should listen to me because I'm older than you. What does that teach your kids? It says
Right.
anyone who's older than you need to do what they say. Anyone who's more powerful than you, stronger than you, fill in whatever it is that you should listen to them. But that's not what you want your kids to do. You want them to understand, but also you need to acknowledge that your kids don't understand everything. So like with our kids, sometimes it's like hey, you need to listen because you don't. But it's mostly if they don't understand, Shepard doesn't understand the concept of electricity. So if he's playing in a light socket, I'm not going to be like, hey, buddy, we don't do that because electricity might shock you and kill you. Like he'll be like, whatever. But he does understand a spanking. So it's like, hey, if you play in the light socket, you're going to get hurt, but it's to save you from, yourself really, because he doesn't have an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So because we don't understand, that's where it's like not the because I said so, but there should be respect from that's the other thing is if your children learn that if your children learn that you are a trustworthy person and that you want what's best for them and you don't want to just spank them, you don't want to just hit them all the time, you don't want to just punish them and have power over them all the time, then they'll listen to you when they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I can't speak as like a professional parent or anything because we're still learning this.
Right.
But there's a sense of trust where it's like, if I knew that you want what's best for me and you tell me something I don't fully understand, I'll be like, okay. Like I asked you that question last night. Like, what if I woke up in the middle of the night and told you we had to go? Like, would you listen? And it's all about trust. Like, that's literally just a trust question.
Yeah.
Do you trust me to make that kind of a decision?
I think I told you like I would do what you say, but if you were messing with me, I would never trust you again.
Yeah. Which I think that's why it's important not to, like all those couples who play with each other
Like
too much.
prank each other. Yeah.
That's dangerous. Like I think you have to draw a line someplace. And I think I'm bad at that. I'll admit, like I'll play dead a couple times or whatever with the kids, but it's like, that's playing dead should probably be a line where you don't play dead with your kids or you don't play dead with your spouse. Cause when it's the whole cry wolf situation.
Right.
If you are just pretending like you're having a seizure all the time and then one day you actually do, then your spouse is going to be like, oh, and they're going to come up and tickle you instead of call 911.
Yeah.
So we hold back on that, but still I could probably do better.
Yeah.
Here's a third take. Not ever believing the teacher when it comes to your child. My kid never lies to me. Seriously, parents absolutely should be their kids' biggest supporters, but support sometimes means holding the kid responsible when they don't do the right thing.
That's hard because it's like I've had people come up to me and not come up to me, but I've had people say to me like, "Hey, Phoebe did this."
Yeah.
And then I'll ask Phoebe and I'll be like, "Hey, did you do this?" And Phoebe will tell me no. And here's the thing is Phoebe doesn't lie usually.
Well, that's hard because sometimes she does. She makes stuff up.
She lies in the sense of like, she'll be like, I bought this sweater at the store yesterday. And it's like, no, you've had that sweater for a year and a half.
Or she'll say, my dad beat my mom yesterday. And she'll say stuff like that.
No, she didn't
What
say
did
that. She said, yeah, mommy was yelling at daddy. And like, but Carlos and I, we like play.
Yeah.
It's like play fighting, but it's like.
Yeah, Emily play slaps me and
oh my gosh.
She play punches me in the face. And it's just play.
Yeah, I just like kick him.
Yeah. Emily
as hard as I can, but it's just playful.
Play insults me and calls me fat and ugly, but just kidding.
Suspect.
No, I'm not going into that.
We can't play that game because
it gets too personal.
We hurt each other's feelings. Anyway.
Yeah. Do you trust?
It's hard because I want to be like, well, Phoebe told me she didn't do that. And I want to trust my daughter, and I want my daughter to know that I have her trust. What I don't want is for me to listen to everybody else and trust everybody else over my daughter. And then when she gets older, she's never going to tell me anything because she doesn't trust me enough to trust her, if that makes
Well, that's
sense.
the whole balance thing. Like you have to listen to whoever is talking about her, and then you kind of have to listen to her too. I think you have to
Right.
take both sides. You can't just be like, only Phoebe was right in this scenario, or only Miss whoever is right in this scenario. You have to be like, okay, here's the two sides. Also, I understand my kid.
Yeah.
So does it make sense that they would
M-
do this kind of a
My
thing?
hope is that if a situation like that ever came up and somebody said, "Hey, Phoebe did this," and I go to Phoebe and I said, "Hey, did you do this?" And if she's lying to me, my hope is that I can be like, "Hey, I don't want you to lie to me. You're not in trouble, but I want to know the truth."
Yeah.
I'm hoping that she'll trust me enough to tell me the truth in
What's
that
funny is
moment.
kids, you can usually tell when they're lying because Phoebe will be like, you can go up to her and ask her, "Did you hit that kid?" And she goes, "I don't want to get spanked."
She'll go, "It was an
It was
accident.
an accident. It was an
It was
accident.
an accident." And
Yeah.
it's like, "Okay, that wasn't an accident. I just watched you push your brother. That wasn't an accident." But
All right. Here's the next take. My wife and I are basically neighborhood pariahs. You know what that is?
mhm,
Pariahs. What's that?
like an outcast.
My wife and I are basically neighborhood pariahs because we allow our children to ride their bikes around our quiet, low crime suburban town. I feel like I know where this is going. I've had a parent tell me he won't allow his son to come over without him because I might do something crazy, like let him shoot hoops on the basketball net out front without standing there watching them.
What?
Children
What?
Children need a little bit of freedom. You can't be expecting to make grown-up decisions when you have never had the opportunity to make child decisions. So the helicopter parent.
Oh gosh.
I'll tell you experience as a kid. I used to be a kid, true story.
Yeah.
And me and my sisters and some neighborhood kids, we were out all the time.
Same. I would be out walking around town by
Well,
myself
we
with my
stayed, I
friends.
would say we stayed within a block or two of our house.
See, I grew up in the middle of nowhere and we'd be outside riding quads, riding dirt bikes for, I'm not kidding you, like 5, 6 hours a day. My mom didn't know where the hell we were. We were up in the
Yeah.
mountains. We had 90 acres. We were up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere building tree forts all day long.
I think, and my sister, shout out Aisha, I know she watches. I think she brought this up, or maybe it was Christina. But we had this whole conversation about like, is it okay to let your kids out? Because a lot of parents will do that and then they get judged for it now because it's like, how dare you let your kids out and play? And my response is basically, you need to understand what your children are capable of and what your neighborhood is capable of, if that makes sense. So, depending on where you live, what's the worst that could happen? Whether that's animals attacking, like if you live in the middle of nowhere, like and your
That
kids come
was an
across a bear,
issue, yeah.
something like that, you need to consider that. Or do you live in a part of town where it's like there's homeless people walking around and
Mhm.
like your kids could get in trouble? I think that there's a balance. Again, everything, there's a balance with everything. Like one extreme is you holding your kid's hand everywhere
Yeah.
and they never learn to make their own decisions. And then
Mhm.
when they're an adult, they're like, where's my mommy's hand?
Mhm.
And then
That's where the trust comes into play
they need you
too,
to order food for them when they're 25 years
or
old.
make doctor's appointments and
Right.
well, and here's the thing is like that's where the trust comes into play. That's where it's like, "Hey, Phoebe, I'm going to let you go out with your friends, but I'm trusting you that you're going to make smart decisions." And then you tell them, "These are my boundaries. This is what you're allowed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do. If you break these rules, sorry, you're not going out with your
Yeah,
friends
your
anymore."
leash, the leash that you have gets shorter and shorter with every rule that you break. And there has to, again, there has to be an understanding of why. Like, oh, you went to this part of town and you could have gotten hurt, so now you're not allowed to do this or whatever. Now you have to share your location with me, stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
let's talk about our neighborhood. I think the the youngest I would let our kids run around is like 6.
6.
And I would say, stay on our block. Like I would draw boundaries. I would say, stay within this. And I would say they'd have to be together always.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want one of them. And I would say,
If you see any creepy dudes,
I would give them an air tag
run
or something.
home.
I would give them an air tag. And it's
See,
like,
I
if
think
it
having
leaves
your kid's location is, I don't think that's a,
no, and it's like
I
not
think that's
checking it, but
good.
like maybe having some sort of warning where it's like your kid left this boundary. It's like now I have to worry. But maybe then parents would say that's too late. Like you let your kid get taken or whatever. But that's just kind of a sad reality of the world. Like there's just bad things can happen to anyone at any moment. And like, should you be
Mhm.
concerned about that all the time? And should you bubble wrap your kids, or should you take some risk with them and let them be humans? That's hard. That's for each parent to decide. But I think we'll probably lean more on the freedom side of things. But also like be smart about it.
yeah.
Okay. Here's number 5. Denying your kid any negative experiences or emotions. This does not work in the long run. Emotions are a normal part of being a person. Teach them to handle negative emotions before you send them out into the world they are unprepared to handle. Into a world they're unprepared to handle. Denying your kid any negative experiences or emotions. So this is kind of like letting your kid feel what they're feeling instead of being like, hey, don't cry. Stop it. Also, a way of denying them negative experiences is by bubble wrapping them. Like,
Well, when
I'll
you
let
read
Shepard
that,
climb something and fall.
what I thought of was like, if your kid is upset, you give them what they want so that they don't feel upset. Like
Sure.
you're not letting them feel upset or sad or angry. When Shepard's yelling at me, I'm like, are you mad at me right now? Are you really mad at me right now?
I'd say moms
And
are worse.
I'm like, that's fine. You can be mad at me,
I don't know.
but you're not going to get what you want.
I think moms are worse at that than dads are. I think dads are really good at letting kids suffer, and moms aren't good at letting their kids suffer.
I don't like the word suffer because
Exactly.
that sounds bad.
No, because suffering, I think suffering a little bit is good. Like being a little bit hungry, that's good. So you're not, hear me out. Hear me out though, because it's like if Phoebe's constantly asking for snacks and you're like, here's an apple, here's a candy bar, here's a granola bar, here's a banana, here's a yogurt. Then when it comes to mealtime, she's like, no, I'm good. I'll just
Right.
ask for ice cream later and you'll give it to me. But it's like, nope, you be hungry so that at dinner time, you're hungry to eat. Like being hungry is a good thing. Having that negative side of emotions is good for them in the long
Right.
run. So far, I'm agreeing with all of these, which is good. Number 6 is leashing your kids. This sounds like it's
We
going to
already
be the
talked
same.
about that.
My daughter goes on a leash because, hang on.
Oh, like a literal leash. You know what, though? I agree with that
Hang on, let me read
in
this.
toddler stage.
My daughter goes on a leash because she's a runner and has taken off on me more than once. Most of the time, it's funny that we both thought like a figurative leash.
Yeah.
Most of the time, she does not want to be in her stroller. Am I going to carry her everywhere? No. She wears her little backpack that she loves, gets to run around to her little heart's content. I get my sanity. Anyone who judge a parent for making their kid happy and keeping them safe is an idiot. Talk to me when your 16-month-old has darted out from between parked cars or taken off in a crowd the second you put them down. We've never leashed our kids. Phoebe's
But I agree
3.
with that. I've
Shepherd is
talked
1.
about having a leash for Phoebe. And here's the thing is, if I didn't carry them everywhere, I probably would get I might get a leash for Shepherd because he's something else, man. But honestly, not even just for
we hold hands a lot.
not even just for kids that like run away, but it's like if your kid is walking, if Phoebe was walking next to me and someone wanted to just grab her and take her, they could. But if I have her like strapped to me, that makes it harder for someone to just take her.
Yeah, that's hard for me because it's like, what's the chance that that'll actually happen? And even though it's small, it's like, I guess it's still real.
Well, I had that
but
experience in Walmart the other day.
someone
These
did not take
Well, no, these 3 grown men.
Emily's racially profiling.
No, no. Listen, these 3 grown men, it was 8 a.m. at Walmart. 8 or 9 a.m. It was early in the morning. 3 men didn't speak English, were following me. I'm not kidding you, following me around Walmart, passed me multiple times, and one of them, okay, 2 of them were looking at my children in the cart every single time they passed me. One of them would look straight at me in the eyes and not break eye contact until he was past me. And I got shivers, chills. I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, I have to like, it was just immediately red flags in my mind. I was like, these guys are like looking at my kids. They're looking at me. They're sizing me up. I'm a mom alone. I'm small too. I'm 5'2". I'm small and I have 2 kids. I'm vulnerable. And this Walmart is empty. This Walmart is empty because it's so early in the morning. And these 3 grown men are following me around. So immediately I'm like, red flags, and I book it to the other end of the store where there's more people and workers. And I'm just like, I've never gone to my car so fast.
Situational awareness. I think the reason people might lose their kids is mostly their kids run off and they just don't notice. It would be interesting to look at like the statistics of actually kids who've gone missing. Like is it someone came up and took your kid and ran off? Because I'm sure that happens. But is the majority of the times just the parent is not paying attention, the kid walks away and gets lost, and then someone's like, hey, here's a single kid. The one thing that I did hear, I don't know if you saw this interview, but this guy who was a child predator, and they asked him like, what do you look for in when you're like picking what kids you go after? And he said, if they have a dad or not, like an active father. He's like, if they don't have a dad, if they don't have some sort of active father figure at least, then those are the kids I go for. Which is crazy that he was answering that
That's
honestly.
disgusting.
But also it's like so
That
real.
makes me
Like
sick to my stomach.
that's such a good reason to have good fathers and to be good fathers. Is like you prevent so much. Good fathers could prevent so much damage in the world and so much evil in the world.
Yeah.
Being a good father, you can prevent stuff like child abduction. You could prevent girls who grow up and just sell their bodies, stuff like that. You could prevent, there's dads could cure the world almost entirely. I mean, that sounds bad because it's like, oh no, Jesus can only cure the world. But it's like in an ideal world, all the fathers would be good and present, and you wouldn't have gangs because fathers would teach their sons the value of life and the value of uh, taking out your anger and stuff like that in different ways, and they would give their kids that value that they wouldn't find in a gang. I just think that dads would solve so much.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this last one. Unless it's not good. I used to think I wouldn't let my kid cry in a restaurant. And for the most part, I'd take her outside when she was small. But then I started working on trying to get her calmed down before I'd grab her and run out the door at the slightest cry. I understand that it can irritate other diners, and I wouldn't, oh, hold on. And I wouldn't have just let her scream for the whole meal. Also, I didn't see the point in running out just because was fussing. She's a human child. It's not her fault. She's unhappy. And if I could cry in public without being judged, I probably would. So this is the side of this is your kids need to have an awareness of others. Your kids need to understand that there's other people. And so one, I would say it's not okay to just let your kid cry. And I don't think we ever have.
Mm-mm.
It's important to let them know that there's other people. And I've told that to Phoebe, like, hey, look, we're in a public place. There's other people here. Don't cry. Like they're trying to, that's important for them to know. Because then they know the world doesn't cater to me. Like I have to adapt to, because like they said, I don't cry in public because I'm afraid of being judged is what essentially they're saying. And that's a perfectly rational thing. Like you should be considerate of others. And that's why adults don't cry or scream in a restaurant, is because we understand that it's not about us. And so getting that instilled in your kids as early as possible, I think is important. But I have taken Phoebe also like outside.
Yeah. It's, if your kid needs to cry, I would say don't just sit there and not be attentive. that's where it's like, that's wrong, is if you're just going to sit there and let your kid
Yeah.
cry and ignore them
We also
and
haven't
make
been.
everybody else listen to that.
You have to be doing something about
You
it.
need to be attentive to your children. You need to figure out why they're crying
It's
and
the
try
whole-
to fix it. And if you absolutely can't, take them for a walk outside.
Yeah.
We've done that plenty of times.
It's the whole airplane situation too, like your kid's crying on an airplane.
Yeah.
Which that one, it's like, there's two sides. You have to be aware as a parent that there are other people, and your kid needs to be aware as a person that there's other people. But other people need to be aware of your situation too and need to be respectful of that. Like,
Right.
if everyone was just considerate of other people, it would never be an issue.
Yeah.
The only time it's an issue is if someone's only considering themselves. So while I do say your kid needs to understand and be aware of the other people, it's not right for someone to come up and be like, hey, your kid is crying. Like, you need to
Yeah.
stop that. I'm trying to enjoy my meal.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. Especially as Christians, like, we shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff to people. Like, we should be the most, like, the best stories that I've heard is like a mom who's struggling on a plane, and then people ask if they can help.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you need help with anything? Like, I can try walking with him or her. Like, I can try to calm him down. Or here's a toy that I have, or whatever it is. That might be smart. If you complain about kids on the plane, bring a little toy with you, a little stuffed animal that you can give to them. My practical piece of parenting advice that I don't know where I learned that. I don't think I have learned this. I think it's just kind of common sense. Maybe not common sense, but just it makes sense to me. And you've seen me do this, is like the whole, do you want to do this or this? So let's say she's crying in a restaurant. Do you want to go outside and cry, or do you want to stay in here and stop crying? And then Phoebe, at this point, she'll be like, I want to stay. Like, I've told her that at night when she just is freaking out. And I'm like, it's cold outside. Do you want to go outside and go cry outside, or do you want to stay in here and stop crying? She usually always picks the staying inside, but also, like, parenting is inconvenient. So if she did say, I need to go outside, I should be ready to be like, all right, let's go. Or if she continues to cry, all right, let's go outside.
Yeah.
But like giving them options like that to help them understand, okay, if I'm in here, that means I need to stop. And if I need to cry, there's a way to do that too. So it's like you give them a choice, and that has been really effective.
It's been,
I don't know if you've
that's been
noticed that.
great. I have noticed.
But it's like, hey, do you want to, if Phoebe, like even just now,
And
we're eating lunch.
it helps her learn to make those decisions.
Yeah, like we were just eating lunch and she was throwing a fit. And so I sat her in my lap and I said, do you want to eat? Do you want me to share my food with you, or do you want mommy to share her food? And so she's not like, oh, I want my own soda. I want my own quesadilla or whatever it is. It's like, nope, here's your options. Do you want to eat with me, or do you want to eat with mommy? And she goes, I want to eat with mommy. It's like, okay, go. And if they don't make the decision, then you make the decision for them. I think she knows that.
Yeah.
But that's my recommendation. Try that out with your kids.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
I'm feeling dizzy. Like I need to go lay down. So
Emily needs some water.
No,
go
I
follow.
just haven't been feeling great.
Here's my recommendation too. Go follow Emily on TikTok and Instagram. She's trying to be a little stay-at-home mom page and try her own thing. So go find her stuff. It's pretty easy to find. Look up her name, or what are your handles?
I think TikTok is Emily Hunt K. Then.
Okay.
But it's should be in our TikTok bio.
Yeah, so
I'll
go.
put it in our TikTok bio.
I don't know if it is.
I'll put it in there.
Go to Emily's page, DM her, and say drink water. That is my challenge.
I drink water.
Emily does not drink nearly enough water. I think
why I'm so dizzy today is because I had a huge coffee without eating anything first, and I think it just
yeah. That's why she pooped her pants today.
I might also be sick because the kids were throwing up a few days ago, and now my stomach is hurting. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Anyways, thank you guys. This is a short episode. I have to go. My motorcycle's having issues again. It's always something, but
yeah,
they're gonna come pick it up and take care of it, and I should have it back before tomorrow. We'll see. But it's winter time, so it's not like I'm missing out on too much.
Yeah,
it's been snowing like crazy. Anyways, thank you guys. And you got anything else?
No, I don't think so.
No.
That's it.
All
Love
right.
you guys. Thanks for watching.
Like, follow, comment, subscribe. Do everything that you can. High score. And yeah, show us that you love us, please.
Bye.
That sounded really desperate. Do it if you want to. Bye.